Welcome to the Takarazuka podcast, a podcast where fans from around the world talk and squee about Takarazuka. My name is Becca, and I'm from California, but today I am in Japan, and I'm actually staying in Takarazuka City. With me today are...
Lela, the sparkly Swede.
And Kitty-chan from California, but who is also in Japan.
And today we are going to talk about the Hoshigumi show Ouka ni Mae Romance. But first, we're going to talk about what's making us squee in Takarazuka this week. So, Lela, do you want to start?
All right, so my happy thing is, well, I'm in Japan right now with Kitty on our exchange year, so that's fun.
Yay!
And also my schedule worked out so I can actually go to Zuka one day per week, and it's amazing. And thus, I have tickets to go see Sekkasho Konjiki no Sabaku, the Hanagumi show that's going to start in November and run, it's November and December that it runs in Mura, and I'm going to go see it at least 3 times. And it's going to be amazing. So I'm super happy about that. I'm really happy about it because I tried to get weekend tickets and I wasn't able to. And I was kind of crying in my room until I realized that, I could go on one weekday. So that worked out. So I'm really, really happy about that.
Nice. Kitty, what's making you happy?
Alright, first off, we got tickets to see Caleb Hunt. So I can finally see Ayanagi Show live, which I'm very, very, very excited about. And also, when I was doing some shopping in Tokyo, I got a really old Takarazuka program from the 90s. So it's got a lot of my favorite actresses. It's very, very tiny smalls. It's very cute.
Nice. So, my happy thing this week is that Seto Kazuya, sometimes known by nickname as Akira, is not retiring with the upcoming Hanagumi show. Sometimes you see this pattern where somebody who has not been promoted a lot but is very talented suddenly gets a Bow Hall show, and oftentimes, not always, but often it's kind of a sending off gift for that actress. I remember back about 5 years or so ago, Kiryu Sonoka, who was in a similar boat, got the same treatment. She got a Bow Hall show for the first time. It's happened with a few others, and so I was happy when I found out that Akira was cast in the lead for I Love Einstein, but I also thought, ooh, is this going to be, a signal that she's retiring? And it looks like, at least not for the next show. Everyone retires eventually, but I'm glad that she's sticking around at least a little bit longer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to try to do something on I Love Einstein in a future episode, but I did see it a week or two ago, and it was very good. So, I approve.
We were in Mura when they were doing I Love Einstein, or at least one of the days when they had the show. And we actually saw Akira and Mighty going in to the theatre. So that was very exciting because we saw the fan club, Akira's fan club was lining up, and we were like, oh my god, she's gonna come past us. And, this is amazing. And then before Akira actually turned up, Mighty just strolled past, and I was like, ah, it's Mighty, just freaking out internally.
Nice. So, today we are talking about the Hoshigumi show Ouka ni Mae Romance, which is in its last week at the Daigekijo here in Takarazuka. It is the last show for Hokushou Kairi and Hinami Fu. So, we're going to break this up into talking about the play first and then the review. So, Ouka ni Mae. It is written by Saito Yoshimasa, who has done a number of shows for Michan. I think the biggest one is Kaze no Jirikichi, which was a theater drama city lead for her a few years ago. And it is a Nihon mono. Are you guys familiar with any of his other works?
I know I remember the name, and I feel like I've actually liked some of his shows, but I can't remember them off the top of my head.
I had a feeling from when the show it was announced that this was going to be a Sayonara show, and I tend to like what he writes, so of the choices, I thought he was a very good one. Alright, so first I wanted to talk a little bit just about the background of the show. So it is a Nihon mono, and it takes place in 19th century Japan. This is one where I actually would recommend reading up a little bit on the history of the era.
Yeah.
The show itself is really more of a personal story about Michan's character and her relationships, but it deals very heavily in the history that's going on. So the show starts out right around the time of the Meiji Restoration, which, and for the record, don't quote me on my Japanese history. A lot of this I got while reading a book on an airplane to Japan while very, very tired. But I'm going to do my best, and my apologies in advance for any errors. So the show starts off right around when the time of the Meiji Restoration, which is basically when power was restored to the emperor. And I don't want to get into more than that, but it was an overthrow of the centralized Japanese government at the time.
They were also going to start trying for a democracy?
I'll be honest, I don't remember if that happens until later, but it might all be in the same era. But,
yeah, no, never mind. It's
that
kind of just like, oh yeah, they were going for democracy that was going to be basically empowered by the emperor sort of thing, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Never mind.
At this point, it's okay. Everyone was sick of the Tokugawa regime for a number of reasons. So I do have a book recommendation, which is The Last Samurai, which I just lost the name of the writer. Okay, which is by Mark Ravina. I got it at my local library, and it just... so it covers the life of Saigo Takamori, who is a character who is in the show, who has a lot to do with it, and it does just give you a really good overview of what's happening at the time, and it's a pretty good, easy read for nonfiction, so I will put up the link later, and if you're really set on understanding everything in this show, it's a good way to kind of brush up on your history. So it takes place right around the Meiji Restoration, and there's a lot of political upheaval that's happening at this time. But within that, some factions begin to develop, and and some of this specifically is around what should be the role of the samurai in the new government. So despite the fact that many samurai were part of the uprising to create the new government, they actually were abolished as a class as part of this, and oh god, this is the crappiest history summary ever, but
it's okay.
Alright, but basically some groups wanted the country to go into a different direction. Some were much more traditional, others were really wanted to see things progress, and so it created a clash, and this resulted in what's called the Satsuma Rebellion. And this is an actual historical event. Have either of you seen the movie The Last Samurai?
Do you mean the one with Tom Cruise?
With Tom Cruise?
I have seen it, but
I was just really wary about it, honestly. Is it actually good?
I have no idea. I haven't seen it.
I do believe The Last Samurai was actually Japanese, though. So I don't think really that Tom Cruise qualifies. So...
No, I think from what very, very, very little I know about the movie, I hope at least The Last Samurai refers to Ken Watanabe, who plays Saigo Takamori. Apparently that movie is very loosely based on the events of the Satsuma Rebellion. But, so for any of you who have seen this movie, this is vaguely the events that we're talking about.
Yeah. If you know the Rurouni Kenshin anime, or have seen the Takarazuka musical, the events of this and some of the people in it are referenced rather obliquely in it. I think they don't actually call it the Satsuma Rebellion yet. They use one of the different, kind of more academic names for it. But it does get referenced in Rurouni Kenshin, and the main character, who Michan plays, is actually one of the historical figures who inspired... I think one of the characters who was a bit of a reference for Kenshin himself, but I'm not entirely sure on that one.
I would just like to add as well about the whole conflict with like why the samurai were dissatisfied with how society was changing. It was because the samurai as a class had certain restrictions on them, so they were not allowed to deal with money, for example. So they were always paid in rice, like and when they were going to overhaul the whole system, because it's kind of a lifestyle and your inheritance, like you inherit your title, you inherit who you are. And so there was no place for the samurai in the new era. And so they had no income. And they didn't know what to do and where to go. Like there was no space for them. They did not have anywhere to exist in this new Japan. And I seem to remember that was part of what caused their dissatisfaction with everything, and that was one of the reasons why there was an uprising. So it wasn't only that they were saying, oh, we should just be traditional, it was actually that they had nowhere to go in the new Japan that was developing.
So I had two things to add. One is that, so another historical event, and whether or not this really happened is a little bit up for grabs, but there was at least a rumor that the Tokyo government was trying to assassinate Saigo Takamori. Whether or not that was just something that was released under torture and was not the truth, I don't know. But that was one of the reasons for the rebellion, is that it was widely believed that the government was trying to assassinate this really popular figure. And the other thing I wanted to add is the character that Natsumiyo, or Hachi-san, plays in this, Okubo, and oh my god, I have to look on the Taka Wiki to remember his first name. Wait, no, sorry, I got the other way around. It's, okay, the character that Ichijo Azusa plays, which is Aritomo, is played by Hachi-san in the Takarazuka Rurouni Kenshin musical. Can someone confirm this who's seen Takarazuka Rurouni Kenshin?
Wait, what? Who was playing who? I do apologize.
Oh dear. Okay. So the character that Ichijo Azusa plays, Yamagata Aritomo. My apologies. I'm not doing so well here.
Ichijo Azusa. Because I'm not really good with the character names in Rurouni Kenshin. I always get them wrong. I do apologize.
That's okay. For those listening, you're probably sensing a theme here. But yes, it was Yamagata Aritomo, who was played by Ichijo Azusa, and that's apparently the same character that Natsumiyo plays in the Rurouni Kenshin Takarazuka musical.
Uh-huh.
So, FYI. So in summary, we are not historians. However, it is worth looking up some of the historical background in talking about this show.
Yeah, if you do read up on the history of the Satsuma Rebellion, if you Google the Satsuma Rebellion or look it up on Wikipedia, you can read through it and you will be able to follow pretty... Yeah, I think you'll be able to follow it pretty well. If you just read that, I think you will be able to follow this show. Yeah.
Yeah. The impression I've gotten is that even though it was a rebellion that was overthrown and defeated, it has a very romantic feel to it in Japanese history, that Saigo Takamori was the last samurai and that he was holding on to this old, good way of life. So even now, he's a very popular historical figure. And so another thing I wanted to talk about was the Satsuma dialect, which you hear a lot in this show.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So I would say even more so than the different accents that you hear in English throughout America and throughout other English-speaking parts of the world, Japanese can have a very different dialects depending on where you go. Most of us in school probably just study basic standard Japanese, which tends to be what's spoken in Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, most places on the mainland you might get some local slang, but it's not going to be that different. However, Kagoshima is off on Kyushu Island, and this is Kagoshima dialect from over 100 years or so ago, so it doesn't sound like standard Japanese. So I had known that it was going to be there going in, but on the first time I saw it, I was sitting next to some other Michan fans, and people are asking me, oh, well, are you going to be okay with the Kagoshima dialect? You know, we're Japanese, and we had trouble understanding it the first time. And then a woman turned to me and said, I'm from Kyushu, and I had trouble understanding it the first time.
Oh, God, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we first went on... Was it our first or our second full day in Kyoto?
It was...
Because...
No, yeah. No, it was the day after we moved into the dorm, so...
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, because we were like full YOLO. Hey, we can just get up ridiculously early tomorrow morning. Why not? We didn't even look up the cast list beforehand. I had no idea. Apart from Michan and Fu and Benny, I had like no idea who anybody is. Because the other issue with the samurai show is that everybody has like 2 or 3 different names they're being called.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And yeah, we were just like, oh, well, they're all pretty. Okay. Mm-hmm. But the second time we went, we did research and we followed it a lot better. Because the plot is not hugely involved. It's like, and it's a very understandable kind of plot. Like, you're getting into this new era and it's not working out. But that's the era you have now, so you have to work with it. And it's not hard to follow. It's just the language takes a bit of getting over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I have seen it 6 times so far, and I know.
It's a perfect number of times. What are you talking about?
No. Well, I've seen it 6 times so far, and I have 2 more tickets.
Oh, gosh.
That is amazing.
Hey, I'm on vacation. But I did find that slowly I was able to get more of the Kagoshima dialect as I listened to it more. It's also helpful to pick up the Lusank because you can see the kanji, and that makes it a little bit easier to figure out what they're saying. However, there's actually a sign in the lobby for Japanese people explaining some of the Kagoshima dialect phrases. So,
oh wow,
I didn't notice that.
Yes, did they add it recently, or was it there the whole time and we missed it?
So it's kind of near the large staircase going up when there's flowers off to one side and the piano off to the other. It's near the flowers.
Oh, yeah. I think like there have probably been people standing in front of it. And stuff, potentially.
Maybe. I mean, obviously it's all in Japanese, but it was helpful. Like, there's this one phrase you hear a ton. It's "chetsudo," which basically means "ikuzo" or "let's go." So just knowing a little bit of that helps.
I got that. And they also say "de gos" a lot. Like, "de gozaimasu," but they just go "goz" kind of thing. I seem to remember.
Yes. My impression of Kagoshima Ben is that it involves dropping a lot of consonants, so often instead of sumimasen, it'll be sumimahan, or something like that.
Okay.
I just thought Kisaki Airi, when she was speaking Kagoshima Ben, was really cute. Because Fu was speaking standard, or more closer to standard Japanese, I think. But yeah, Kisaki Airi was really cute.
Yeah, that is one thing that's that will help your comprehension, is that not everyone in the show is from Kagoshima, and even the ones who are, when they go to Tokyo, tend to speak closer to a Tokyo dialect, so that helps.
Yeah. And then Benny and Michan meet each other again, and it's just craziness. But I mean, it's fun, but you just... I don't know. I understand that they are friends and that they like each other and stuff. You know, I'm all in with the nostalgia. I'm all in with the feelings, but I have no idea what they're saying. It's just yep.
There's a scene both early on and then throughout where Benny and Michan are reunited after having been parted for a while. Both are from Kagoshima, and they just instantly go into this very, very heavy dialect. And it's cute. I think you'll pick up kind of on the friendship no matter what.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. And also, there are a lot of flashbacks in this show, which makes it harder to understand, because if you have not read up on anything, realizing that it's a flashback and what's going on like in the flashback might be really difficult.
Well, so we start during the Meiji Restoration when Kagoshima and some of the other, they're not prefectures, I guess it would be, because prefectures came later, but anyway, in the fight against Aizu, and then we see Michan and Benny come home, and then they flash back to the beginning of the story, so that can throw you off a little bit. And what someone mentioned is that if everything happened in chronological order, Fu wouldn't come in until about 40 minutes into the show, and I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. So, overall impressions. I am a huge Michan fan, and I'm going through a lot of feelings with Taidan, so I'm curious what other people think.
Yeah, I thought, I do like Saito Yoshima. I just looked him up just now, and he did El Alcon, and he did Trafalgar, and he did like 2 or 3 others, and I'm like, oh, that's this guy. Yeah, I don't know if it's ever gonna make like my top 10, but it's for a Nihon Mono. It's really, really, I quite like it, and it's got really good songs and really good fight scenes, and the end got me both times. I was like, no. So, like, not the end, but the bit after that, and yeah, why did he have to do that? I didn't consent to that.
So we're going to try to avoid talking about anything that is too much of a spoiler. However, this is a show that's about a rebellion that was put down, so, you know, the Titanic sunk. It falls into that same category as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it does a bit. My impressions of this show, well, the first time I was incredibly jet-lagged, and I had been up, I mean, I had hardly slept, and we were up at 3:30 in the morning, I think, or was it 5 that morning? Anyway, it was ridiculously...
We went on a second train that day, so it wasn't 3:30.
Okay, well, it was ridiculously early in any case, and I had a hard time following it, and I was kind of, because it was the first time I was seeing Benny live, so I was just waiting for, you know, the Benny scream, which is amazing, and I was just like throughout the whole show, I was like, oh my god, when is she gonna do it? She has to do it, and she finally did do the scream, and it was at an incredibly tragic moment. So everyone around me was, you know, very upset and, you know, a bit teary-eyed. And I had just been waiting for the Benny scream, and I kind of started laughing to myself, silently, not out loud, but like, oh my god, it was the Benny scream, it was amazing. And then it was just such an awkward moment. And the second time I saw it, I was actually able to, because I talked to you, Becca, about some of the plot points, and I had read up on the history, and I really felt that I was able to connect with the characters and what was going on with them, what was happening in their lives, And so the second time I watched it, I was able to follow the story a lot more, and so it felt a lot more poignant. Like, it's a very poignant show, I think, and a very good Taidan show as well.
Yeah, I can see what people are saying, and if you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about, that there is a moment where Benny could have done a more subtle approach. Personally, I'm too busy being really, how do I put it, full of feelings to really pay much attention. I'm not usually the type. I think I once got a little bit teary-eyed during Rudolph's death scene in Elizabeth, and that's about it as far as shows making me cry, but this show, every time I've seen it, has made me bawl.
Aww.
But I have to say that as someone whose star is retiring, this is going to sound strange, but it's actually really nice and cathartic to have a show where you can just bawl your eyes out.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
So, I actually like this show a lot. Once again, I am a Michan fan, and so that's obviously going to color my opinions, but I think it's pretty well written, even if you don't, have any of the emotional connection to the actresses. It's very well suited to Michan, and it feels like a sayonara show, so I'm actually a really big fan of it, and I've just... I've come to like it more and more each time that I watch it, and I start to get more of the nuances.
Yeah.
Couple of Saito Sensei tropes that you see in the show. One is that he loves to have voiceovers from characters about what their thoughts are while they're on stage. So you'll see Michan sitting there, and then, they'll have her voice come on overhead to show what she's thinking, and that's something that shows up in a lot of his shows. Like, Kitty, I could have sworn that happens in El Arcon.
El Arcon, they do it constantly, but that's actually a thing that the characters do in the manga, so it actually made it really authentic, the El Arcon one. Because... no, I need to not talk about Helicon, never mind. But yeah, I like that, but it's sometimes a little hard to understand live, the voiceovers. It could have just been where we were sitting though.
It is, I can say it's something that he does in a number of his shows that I can think of. Another kind of Saito Sensei trope is that he loves using video in the background. Like, very often at the beginning of his shows, you'll see kind of a anime opening credits style montage. This one actually stayed away from it, although you still do see some video in the background of the opening number that says Samurai the Finals, so he couldn't resist putting a little bit of a touch on it.
I really liked the opening song.
Me too.
May I broach one small issue I have with this show?
Oh, please do.
I thought going in that Fu-chan was going to play Kirino Toshiaki's actual wife. So I was a little disappointed that they invented the new character, because his actual wife sounds pretty cool, honestly.
I agree.
But Fu-chan did really good with her part, and I liked the arc they got with the different territories, but for their last show you give them roles where they literally can't get together. Okay. Yeah.
So just to give some background, Kirino Toshiaki's historical wife actually did go into battle with him, but they actually created, I believe it's an original character for Fu, and while Fu's character does wield a naginata at the beginning, her main role is that she goes on to be a nurse. So I think ultimately what it comes down to is there's no reason why they couldn't have given that kind of a role to Fu. I think she would have done really well in it. But I think ultimately the story is actually more about Benny and Michan's character's relationship, which is a very brotherly one. I mean, I don't know if I... Yeah, it's different. It doesn't feel like Slash. It just feels like... I don't know how I'd even explain it. But yeah, it's really... the crux of it is really about kind of their friendship and what they go through.
Yeah, and just that you can love someone who ends up making choices that you cannot in any way agree with, but you still hold them really dear.
So I think Fu and Michan, there is some kind of, I wouldn't say sexual, there is some romantic tension between them, but for reasons they never really become a couple, and yet I would say that they still do have a meaningful relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess I wish that Fu had a bigger role, and I don't know if her fans feel disappointed that she didn't get to play, a character who was in more romantic scenes, but I can't say I feel like Fu's character is a bad one either, because she does get to go through a definite emotional arc, and I feel like of everyone in the show, she's the one who kind of learns and grows the most.
I would have wanted to see her in more scenes, but...
Oh, well, that's fair, especially given this is her last show.
Yeah, they just had... Well, they had a lot of characters, because they needed to have things to do for Mishiro Ren, and they needed things to do for a lot of the other upperclassmen. So... They just had, besides even Taidan going on, they had a lot going on in this show. But yeah, Fu could have used a little more stage time, definitely.
Yeah. My impression of Hoshigumi right now is that it has a lot of upperclassmen, a few of whom, like Rei Makoto, who are very much so on the Star track, but it has a lot of people who are kind of just... I don't want to say just hanging out, because they obviously have their fans and they're talented in their own ways, but my impression of Hoshigumi is that it's very big right now, and with the exception of Toki Irisu retiring, the cast of characters hasn't really changed much in the last few years.
Yeah, it's not quite as crowded as certain other troupes, but I just have been disappointed that Miki and some of the other Kurenai 5 people have just been getting oh yeah, you're here, here's a part type of roles.
Yeah. So speaking of which, and I'll go a little bit more into these characters, so Koto, Benny, Michan, Fu, I would say all have pretty solid characters. A lot of the rest just have smaller roles, like they're either one of the samurai from Satsuma, or Nanami Hiroki plays an underling of Natsumeyo's character, but doesn't have a ton to do and has no solos, so I wouldn't say that, because I felt like even the ones who didn't get so much time, they at least got to be on stage a lot, but I couldn't necessarily point and say, oh yes, this person got something very different to do.
Yes, it's another tie-down show issue that happens a lot, because you have to give attention to everybody who's leaving and to the people who are coming after them. So.
Yeah, I have, without getting too much onto this topic, I was pleasantly surprised that so few people retired with Michan. Often when you see a top star go, it's a huge list, like 10 other people who are retiring with her. And so without diminishing the significance of the people who did leave with her, it could have been a much more tied-on heavy show than it actually was.
But it still feels like it's a celebration of Hoshigumi, you know? It's just... It feels as though it's not just focused on Mi-chan and Fu-chan because they're leaving. It feels as though they kind of want to spread the love across the stage, over all of the Siens in Hoshigumi, and just, yeah. I don't know, it feels very... Or I guess maybe... I'm going into the review of it.
No, I was thinking the same thing.
But it feels as though it's kind of but it's kind of like a celebration of all of them. It's not just that, it's not super duper focused on Michan. Like, she's not the absolute focus. It's just like, yeah, look at all of this awesomeness, and we're great together.
No, that makes sense, and I can see what you're saying. Sometimes I'm kind of amazed at how writers manage to write for Daigekijo, because not only do you have to basically write an entire musical in an hour and 45 minutes, but I think much more so than in a Broadway show, you have to cater to a lot of little roles.
Yeah.
And I think that's often...
And you have to give them names.
Exactly.
You have to give them names. That's a very tricky thing. Seriously. Oh,
like, if you watch productions of Me and My Girls, even some of the, pretty prominent Sato just end up being Lambeth King or, party guest number 3, because that's a Broadway show where there's just a limited number of named roles. So let's see. So we talked a little bit about Fu. So Benny plays Michan's best friend, and I have to say, I was happily surprised at their chemistry. I always thought that they were kind of an odd combination, and they did just really get thrown together, when Michan was announced as top star, but I just find that they're both very different Takarajians. So for a show that really relies on the bond between these two characters, I thought they both did a really, really excellent job about making you care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen them together in Komori, which I thought they did really well together in, but it's a completely different relationship. So
someone described the Komori relationship as frenemies, and I thought that summed it up very well. Whereas here, they really have to be close as brothers. I absolutely love the Hoshigumi version of Guys and Dolls, but one criticism I would say is that I felt like Michan and Benny did not have a lot of chemistry together at that point, and that makes sense. It was, other than Napoleon, it was their first time really working together, but just, I was happy to see that it had developed.
Oh yeah, I'm dumb. I have seen Guys and Dolls.
In the story Guys and Dolls, Nathan and Sky, they're not really, I don't think they need much chemistry in that sense.
Well,
because, they're trying to kind of trick each other. Well, Nathan is trying to get some money out of Sky, and, they're having a bit of a laugh, but they don't have a close relationship. So they don't need to have that kind of really intimate chemistry kind of thing.
Maybe not, but they still had to be able to really play off of each other, and I thought Michan and Benny, they did fine. It certainly wasn't bad. It's just, I feel like I have seen, either in other productions or in the earliest Tsukigumi one, just more chemistry between Nathan and Sky, but let's not go too much into Guys and Dolls. Point being that that for two actresses who I thought have been kind of somewhat haphazardly thrown together, that they actually did a really good job in making you care. Let's talk a little bit about Rei Makoto.
Yes.
And I actually have to look up the name of her character because I keep on forgetting, and whenever I talk about her role to friends, it's just, Rei Makoto. She is Yagi Nagateru, who is from the Aizu domain, who they are fighting against at the beginning. And things do not go well for the Aizu. They are defeated by Michan's team, and God, I'm just going to call reference to her as Koto because I don't want to keep on looking up this name. But after that, Koto wants vengeance.
Yep. Koto is very angry in this show.
Yes. She sings beautifully, though.
Enraged. Oh.
Yes, that's kind of my main takeaway of her character. And then the other character she interacts with a lot is Maya Kiho, who plays Manahime-sama, or Princess Mana, who, and this is early enough in the plot that I feel okay spoiling it, but she is a princess of the Aizu. She is captured after a battle, and she is sold into prostitution. And there is this wonderfully heartbreaking scene where Koto has gone looking for her to try to find where she's ended up, and she's become this very jaded prostitute, and she recognizes him when he comes into the brothel, and she very tenderly lays her head against his chest in a way that makes you think that, this is a pure princess from the beginning, and then she just kind of whispers, "Katte kureru? Will you buy me?" And it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So shout out to Maya Kiho, who has a gorgeous voice, and even though it's kind of a small role, does a really good job.
Yeah, it's really vital to Koto's motivations, which then trigger a whole lot of the rest of the show. So it's really, for a small part, it's really important, I think.
I agree.
I thought Koto was really good in this as well. Just amazing. Sometimes it's difficult to keep up that kind of level of anger and frustration and everything, but I thought she did that really well.
I want to make sure we talk about Mishiro Ren a little bit because she's also retiring.
Okay.
And she and Michan are classmates, and they together are the last of the 84th class.
Oh.
So it's funny when she was announced for this show, I assumed that, okay, she'll be there to support Michan and she'll give her the flowers at graduation, but I guess they'll have to bring in someone else from the class in order to do that. So, I like that she got a little bit of a bigger role than usual as a Senka person. They were obviously trying to give her a send-off. She also gets this gorgeous little solo. So I just really enjoyed seeing her scenes together with Michan. Before we kind of wrap up Ouka talk, does anyone have any other actresses you want to bring up?
Yumeki Anu? Is she the one who plays Michan's mom? I'm not going to say anything because spoilers, but she's responsible for a lot of the tears.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah. Have we talked about Kai-chan? Nanami Hiroki?
Not a ton, but to be honest, she doesn't get a lot to do. She is also from Satsuma, and as opposed to Michan and Benny, who are kind of torn over what to do, I feel like she is much more on Team Jerk. Like she gets involved in some kind of nasty politics. So, but she doesn't have any Ginkyo solos or anything, so she gets to be there, but not a huge role. In the review, you can make a argument that she and Koto are very much so neck and neck, but in the show, it was definitely Koto who was Sanbante.
Yeah.
She did have a nice uniform, though.
I would agree with that.
I'm just saying. Uniforms.
Yes. And if you don't have binoculars, she does wear this hat with her uniform that has kind of like it's kind of stripes on it that makes a triangle shape in the front, right?
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah. So if you're having a hard time spotting her, look out for that uniform because that might make it a bit easier.
I mean, she's pretty prominent in the scenes. It's just she's, she doesn't get any Ginkyo solos or anything.
Yeah. But she looks fantastic in her uniform. just saying.
Priorities.
And she has a half decent moustache as well.
Yeah, she
she
actually
does.
can carry a moustache quite well. Like,
Yes.
ranking top GNs who can do mustaches, she's on it. She's on the list.
We could do a whole episode on mustaches one day.
Oh, definitely. We were going to do a facial hair special, weren't we?
All right, this
Good.
may be coming in the
Right.
future, the facial hair special.
Yes.
I just wanted to mention one more thing about Okanimai, and that is that Michan, when they are having like the battle scenes and stuff in the beginning, she is wearing this kind of traditional garb, I believe, and she has like this incredible black wig. I don't know, because it is some kind of traditional garb, but I don't know if it's like traditional
I think it's
gear, but...
It's like a helmet thing, I think, but I'm not an expert.
Okay. Because it looks really cool.
Yeah.
Just like the whole outfit and stuff, it looks really cool. But at first, I'm a bit confused whenever they like change their outfits, and I'm like, they are incredible. They're doing it so quickly. Suddenly, they come in with completely different hair, and you're like, how did you do that? How is it physically possible to do that? But they do, and it's incredible, and I just really enjoy the costume changes and everything in this. It's really cool.
What I have heard is that there are professional dressers who work backstage, and I believe the top star gets several. So I've heard.
Yeah, I think there's still some pretty fast changes in this one.
Oh yeah. And especially considering that all the traditional Japanese garb just strikes me as much more difficult to put on and to do so correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not just like throwing on a pair of pants.
Oh, no. There are, like, lots of strings. There is a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, I feel like they must have cheats somewhere. It's like, I can't believe they can change those costumes that fast.
You might be right.
Can I just say, because I realized I forgot to say, in Okanimae, Mao Yuki plays, like, the newspaper reporter person, and I was very happy. Because she was the one person besides the leads I recognized the first time I went to the show. So, yeah. Because she played Tybalt, and I've kind of watched that part. So I can recognize everyone who's played Tybalt. But she was really good. I was glad they gave her something to do.
Sasuga.
Alright, so the review half of this is romance. The director is Okada Keiji, who has done a number, I believe he's written everything that's in quote-unquote romantic review series. So off the top of my head, I know this includes Shitarasu no Kaze, which was the Hatsubutai for Michan's class. It's also been repeated a couple times in the last few years. He also did Amoru Sorewa, which was the Sayonara show for Yamato Yuga, and also it got reused as one of Michan's shows on tour. And these reviews, they're called romantic reviews, and I don't know how you would best describe it. It's lots of just very pretty dresses. It has a certain style to it.
I felt as though it was mini love stories piled on top of each other.
That's one way to think of it. And that the title is romance. So I would say Michan has really had two reviews that were written for her. It's this and The Entertainer, which was back in April. So I would say The Entertainer is probably my favorite, but I also think romance is very solid.
I haven't actually seen The Entertainer, but I thought romance was incredibly good, and I usually go for the, like, more in-your-face reviews that are just a full hour-long glitter bomb, like La Esmeralda. But, and you can tell we're a true Takarazuka fan when you call a show like romance understated. But some of the scenes, like the one that was just the piano, that one was incredibly good.
So, this is a scene towards the beginning where no one sings during it. It's just a piano solo, and basically Fu is a young lady, and she and Michan meet, and they fall in love, and Michan is some kind of a prince, so he gets called away to, I'm gonna guess it's war or something, but it's all done through dance, and it's very pretty.
I think the music is Chopin, but I couldn't say off the top of my head. It might be in the program.
I'll have to look later. And you would think that it's kind of a waste to have neither Michan or Fu sing, but it's very good.
Mm-hmm. Fu-chan got 2 solos in the review, I think?
Yes, she does, because she has a solo right before the 50s number, and then she gets a solo on the Kinkyo right after the Chuzume.
Mm-hmm. And I think she also had a short one, like, at the very beginning, but that doesn't really count, I guess.
Oh, no, she does. You're right, because she starts off the review.
But she's kind of talking a little bit in that one, so I don't know if it would count as a scene or
I think it's a lead into the first intro number.
Yeah,
so
it's part of the prologue.
Yeah.
The one thing I had to say about Fu that I thought was unfair is that she doesn't actually get to be part of the Chuzume. That's actually Michan's partner in that is Rei Makoto in a dress.
I just love that, though.
I know, and Koto wears a dress very beautifully, but at the same time, it feels like a bit of a ding that the top Musumeyaku does not get to be in the Chuzume for her final show. That being said, she gets to sing a really gorgeous number alone on the Ginkyo right after that, so that kind of makes up for it, but part of me feels like, Fu could have totally pulled off doing that. You didn't need an Otokoyaku and drag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could have been a timing thing, I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, it's hard to say, but,
I'm just happy that in one scene Fu-chan got to wear pants. It's like, Musumeyaku in pants in reviews is apparently one of my favorite things now. I don't know when that happened.
Yes, and it's an amazing bit of.
I don't know if I want to spoil that bit.
It has a lot of doors.
I'm not sure how much you can spoil a.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can you?
Review.
Just the emotional intensity of it is. Those last couple ensemble scenes was.
Yeah. So I'm going to go for it with the spoilers. I figure if you want to know absolutely nothing about this show, and I'll put a warning, don't listen to this podcast until after you've seen it. But towards the end, there is what's really a very typical sayonara number, and it feels like it. It involves most of the troupe, and it involves them jumping through doors with kind of a theme in the lyrics about breaking through and taking the power of your friends to go towards tomorrow, and it's very obviously a send-off for Mi-chan, who gets to sing gorgeously in it. I believe it.
And the beginning of the number as well, they have these harmonies that are so absolutely amazing. It just sounds so fantastic. I can't even describe how good it is. It's just so good.
It reminds me of something out of a Disney movie. The whole arrangement in the best possible way. Like the Disney anthems that everybody loves, those kind of things. That's what that song reminded me of.
Yeah. I believe that Hayama Sensei was the choreographer, and I don't remember what else she's done, only that she's a well-known choreographer with the review. So I would have to say that's my favorite number, definitely a high point of the review. But I also want to talk about the 1950s number, which is super cute.
Oh yeah, it was the best.
So it starts off with Benny, Koto, and a bunch of the other prominent otokoyakus singing "You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog."
That was so good.
But and what I like is that it's one of these numbers where there's no one really has a character, and yet everyone does have their own thing that they're doing in the background during this number. So, for example, you can see Mi-chan and she and Fu are, I guess, together, or they're a couple, but at the same time, Mi-chan is like kind of flirting with the roller skate waitress girls, and I love stuff like that. It just makes it fun to watch. Instead of numbers where it's just choreography, where everyone really has stuff they're doing, there's also just an incredible amount going on in that scene.
Mm-hmm. I am always slightly terrified when they're wearing roller skates on stage. I think they take them off fairly quickly, though.
You should watch Ocean's 11. They actually have Sato on unicycles.
Yeah, I've seen...
At least in the Hanagumi version.
I've seen Ocean's 11. And yeah, that was extremely terrifying. It was not as bad as Puck. Puck is the most terrifying roller skates. Okay.
Oh yeah, I guess it would be. So that's a really cute and fun number. And then this review has a little bit of a untraditional structure in that rather than having a otokoyaku dance in front of the grand staircase, they do it in front of these kind of crystal-looking columns. It's very Roman-looking.
Yeah, I really like that scene. It looked really, really cool.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones I was crying through the whole time. So I didn't actually see it very well the second time.
And once again, the lyrics are all about looking towards tomorrow. The whole review both halves, I would say, definitely feel like a sayonara show. Not in a way where you feel manipulated, but it does touch on those points a lot. So, lots of things about, the days that I spent, meeting and laughing with you, and let's go on towards a new tomorrow, so on and so forth. But I was also going to add that what feels a little untraditional, and especially for Okada Keiji, who I always think of as very traditional, is there's not the pair dance. So Michan and Fu do get a pair dance. It's while other couples are on, also on stage, but whatever, sometimes that happens. But normally after a pair dance, they go to the front of the ginkgo and they bow and they immediately go into the finale. So while Michan and Fu do dance, there's not really a bow in front of the ginkgo, and then it actually segues into Benny and Kisaki Airi singing a short song. And someone had told me that that's common, that oftentimes you will get the new kombi who will do a number right before going into the finale, but I can't think of any actual examples. If anyone's seen it, I'm really curious.
I haven't seen a lot of tie-down reviews, so I don't remember. I saw Chie's tie-down review, but Michan wasn't in that, so...
Right. Sometimes, depending on transfers, the new top kombi isn't in the troupe yet. And even if the Otokoyaku is, the Misumiyaku may be a transfer. So, it's just... To me, it feels like a bit of a weird choice to not have the top kombi give their bows and to... But I guess the whole theme of the review is going towards the future, so it makes sense. For me, it feels jarring. Your mileage may vary.
Well, I mean,
I didn't even realize that was unusual until you mentioned that.
That's a good question to ask our listeners. Do you have any examples where this has happened before?
Or an example where, before the staircase parade starts, that it was not the top kombi doing a duet dance and then bowing.
But it's a really catchy song that they sing. It's super duper catchy. I've had it, I've been singing it for, over a week?
Yes, I can confirm.
The I Love Review?
Yeah.
Which we have on the recording. I'm just saying, we have it somewhere on this recording.
You people will have it edited out, but I can confirm that while we took a break, that Lela did sing it in the background.
Don't cut it out.
I think we're all right.
Just terrible. Yeah. Hi. So, I wanted to mention with the Roman pillars. By the way, I totally forgot. There is a lovely, lovely otokoyaku with a lovely, lovely voice. And was it Natsuki Rei, Becca?
Yes, it is Natsuki Rei, who is a 93rd. Not really on the star track, but often gets solos because she has a very, very lovely voice.
Yeah, it was just so amazing. So if you are watching this show, look out for that because I love it. I love it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Someone told me once that she looks like Tim Curry, and now I can't get that image out of my head.
I would.
It makes it easy to find her, though.
I mean, Tim Curry has a very distinct smile, doesn't he?
He does, but I can see it. I don't know. Your mileage may vary.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to rewatch Rocky Horror Picture Show and just, yeah.
I'm sorry, now I've probably ruined Natsuki Rei for everybody, and she really is a lovely otokoyaku who I hope has a great career ahead of her as a singer, because she's the kind of solid upperclassman that is so valuable.
Yeah. Hey.
So, any other thoughts on romance overall?
The one issue I did not like the Rockette outfits because the whole show had been very either cool toned or pink at the most, and then they bring in these canary yellow Rockette outfits with.
No, they're orange.
They were orange. Oh, that's even worse.
Well, they're orange and yellow.
Yeah, they were tolerable, except then they had like the full arm-length gloves that were the same color. And there are no pink Rockette outfits in your costume warehouse? Because I think it's the only yellow or orange costumes in the entire show, apart from those kind of brownish ones in the Doors number. So it was just really jarring. The Rockette dance itself was really cute, though. I just did not like the Rockette costumes.
Yeah, there are a couple of costumes. There are 2 costumes in another dance number, because there's a dance number where Michan is like wearing red and black, and you know when she's first dancing on her own on the little platform, and then she is like, and then they lower people down from the other platform.
Yeah,
and there are 2
that
people
is the best effect.
on there. Yeah, it's great. But there are 2 people up there who have orange, I don't know if they're sequins or little sparkles, but they have orange stuff on them. So, but that's the only thing that I can think of that follows that theme at all.
Is this during the 50 numbers or during the Chuzume?
Chuzume? No?
Yeah, it's the one with Koto and
okay, so the Chuzume.
Kai-chan.
Okay.
So.
Huh.
Yes.
My only memory of that number is black and red, but next time I see it, I'm gonna have to look and see if I can find anyone who's in orange.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just like the suit, the like the outfits are red. I mean the fabric is red, but then they have like just orange sparkles on them. Yeah, I really liked it.
I'll look for that.
So that's why I noticed it. So.
I actually do like Nanami Hiroki a lot. I'm sorry that I keep on giving her grief in this podcast, but I thought so she and Koto are both in drag for the Chuzume. Kai-chan is Benny's female partner, and she has a rather unfortunate wig, in my opinion. I'm sorry, Kai-chan. All my love to you. I don't like that wig.
Because I bought the Lasang and there are some photos in it and it's glorious. I love it. And there's one of Kai-chan, like she's like bent backwards. So like you see Benny from the front and Kai-chan is kind of photographed from like, you see her face, but it's because she's like bent over. Like, so it's really, I don't know if it's an unfortunate or a very fortunate angle, but I love it. I think it's great. It's just a really, really enjoyable show. And after the emotional kind of catharsis that you might go through when you watch the play, Romance is a very good review to pick you up again, like, because it has fast bits and then it has, slower bits. It kind of like, there is an emotional range there, but it's a happy emotional range throughout it. And so even though you are upset and you kind of want to be upset because of Thai dance and things, you still come out of it feeling really happy and refreshed, and life is glorious and everything is amazing, and you just really love Hoshigumi when you walk out of that theater.
I don't know, the review made me cry more than the play did. But it was like,
there's certainly some numbers.
Like good crying, so it's okay.
It's a different kind of crying, though. I feel like watching the play is kind of like watching Les Miserables. That's the best comparison I can come up with. While in the review, it's more Michan singing gorgeously about a new tomorrow, and that it provokes a different kind of tears, I guess.
Yeah. I wonder what they're going to do afterwards. I hope it's amazing. I hope they keep on singing, both of them.
I have no actual idea, but I can't imagine that Mi-chan won't.
Oh.
Just to spread the rumor factory a little bit, and once again, this is nothing but pure speculation, but there is a few days of the Elizabeth Gala concert where there is no cast that's been announced, and so there has been some, and once again, nothing more than speculation that, maybe Mi-chan will be cast either playing Franz or God knows who else in the Elizabeth Gala concert, but they can't actually give her name until she retires.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one possibility. We'll see if I'm right or if I'm just spreading rumors.
Instead of just being a rumor mill, we can just start them. Yes. Fantastic.
You heard it here. This has no basis in fact.
We know nothing. Oh. Yes.
I have no idea what, but I personally have no doubt that Mi-chan will continue to perform. I know with Top Miss Miyako, it's a little bit more hit or miss, but I really hope that Fu also continues to perform. She's so talented.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I honestly, it probably won't happen, but I hope Mi-chan goes into voice acting.
I would like that.
Actually, that's the thing that's happened. Because I know it was mostly it's like Suzukaze Maya and people in the 90s, but we had Amami Yuki was just in the last Detective Conan movie, and then Kai-chan was in that one anime, so it's a thing that's happened quite recently.
Mm-hmm. I know it could happen.
So
that would be a lot of fun.
Mm. And if anyone is in any way doubting Mi-chan's voice acting skills, just listen to her doing the Genie song from Aladdin. It's on the Takarazuka Hoshigumi Disney CD.
It's pretty amazing.
It is just incredible.
I particularly recommend that you get the one that also includes the DVD because you can see that she's also making faces along with all the different genie voices, and I love it so much.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. It's a recommendation. Dozo.
All right. Any last thoughts?
I haven't really gone into my Mi-chan love in this episode at all, so I guess I should just slap that on at the end.
Yeah, I'd say slap it a little bit. I think we are going to do a separate Michifu Taidon episode, which I encourage you to sign up for. Because, where you'll have to get me to shut up, because otherwise I'll just talk about Mi-chan for 3 hours and people will stop listening.
That would be amazing. I would totally listen to that, just saying. But yes, please feel free to attack on the Mi-chan love, although we'll be going more into it later. Yeah, I feel really blessed that I was able to go and see her live. Getting up at 3:30 in the morning was totally worth it. I was super happy to see her on stage. I was super happy to hear her voice reverberating in the Daigekijo. And it was a magnificent performance by a magnificent, amazing person. And just her little face, she's so beautiful and she sings so well and she's doing everything so great, and it's kind of heartbreaking that she's leaving, but at the same time it feels like it's a new step. And this is a really good show. I encourage everyone to watch it when it comes out on DVD, and if you have the possibility, go see it in Tokyo. I know that it's not a very easy thing to do because I'm in Japan and I'm not going to be able to go and see it in Tokyo because of money reasons, but it is definitely worth watching. I know it's difficult with the dialect and that might make you hesitant about watching it, but it is really such a fantastic show, and if you can't be bothered to watch the play, then at least watch Romance, because it is a really uplifting and fantastic show. And yeah, Mid-chan, come on, you guys. Like,
Can I tell a story about when the show was first announced to kind of go full circle?
Mm-hmm.
So, because I'm an endlessly paranoid person, and also because I thought the announcement of Michan's Bow Hall show, One Voice, was kind of weird, I was kind of, as far back as December, wondering, is this going to be her Taidan show? So, the night in America that announcement came out, I was supposed to fly home to the East Coast on the 23rd and arrive on the 24th. Because of weather, my flight got completely canceled, and so I ended up being delayed an extra day. So, once again, I went back to the airport. It was Christmas Eve. I was already worried that if I couldn't get one of my connecting flights, that I was going to be stuck in DC on Christmas Day. I was not a happy camper. And then this show announcement came out, and I kept on thinking, it's a Nihon Mono, it's going to be Taidan, and I was pretty nervous, but I have to say I've actually come to really, really love both halves of this, so thank you, Takarazuka Kageki-dan, for giving Michan a good send-off.
What a day, though, to be stuck at the airport and getting these news. Gosh, I can't imagine what you were feeling. I can't even just the things we go through as fans of this ridiculous and amazing company.
Indeed. And I really do feel like it all turned out okay in the end. So,
Yes.
All right. If no one else has anything else to add, then thank you so much for listening, and we will see you again in a future podcast. If you want to leave a comment on either the page or the Facebook, please do, and we will see you soon. Bye!
Many thanks to Michael B. and the Arcanum String Quartet for their wonderful arrangement of Sumire no Hana Sakugoro. And thank you, listeners, for enjoying our podcast. I love